Once again to another exciting podcast adventure here on Rediscovering Your Passion and Purpose with Patty. And you all are finding out if you've been here before. And if you're new, I am your host, Patty Stuhlin, and I am the Chief Pathfinder of Pathways with Patty. Today, we have another wonderful guest that is going to share your story, and not only share your story, but also share some valuable information for those of you who have kids that are going to be college bound and or are college bound already. So today's guest is Denise Thomas. She is a TEDx speaker, international best-selling author, and coach to parents of college-bound teens. Using her strategy, her two homeschooled teens attended college on 17 scholarships. Now, are you ready for this? Exceeding $199,000. Yes, that's right. I'm saying that right. Walking out of college, get this, with cash in hand. They got paid to go to college. Denise says, keep your money. Send your kids to college on other people's cash. I'm telling you, Denise, it is a joy to have you here today, because I know right now there's so many parents listening and watching on YouTube. They're thinking, excuse me, what did you just say in that introduction? It is a pleasure to have you here today, Denise. How are you doing today?
Hey, Patty, thank you so much for having me on your show. It is a spectacular day. It is beautiful in North Florida. I don't know how long that will last. By the time this is aired, it may be terrible again because, you know, it's Florida.
If you want the weather to change, just wait 15 minutes, right?
That is the truth.
Well, as I said before in the introduction, you not only have seen your fair share of challenges and obstacles in your story, but the things that it has led you to, which you never ever expected, is exactly the kind of story that I want to share with my audience. So with that being said, please tell us about your story and bring us up to, up to where you are today. But how did you get to where you are today?
Awesome. Well, let's face it, the vast majority of U.S. citizens who have college-bound kids, meaning either we as parents, maybe we attended college, or even if we didn't, we want our kids to go to college. So as our children are being raised, we may have the impetus to start a conversation that starts with when you go to college, not if you go to college.
Right.
And that was our family. That is also how I grew up, by the way. So, you know, my husband has a job. He's working in corporate America, and we're doing pretty decently. We had built our dream home after having, you know, had other houses in different states and moved a bazillion times and whatnot. And so we had finally built what we thought this is where we're going to be. And this is the house we're going to retire in. And it was the house.
Mm-hmm.
This is the house that is on a lake. It's big enough to have the church come in and use it.
Wow.
Because I love entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So I built the entire downstairs. I mean, there was no bedrooms downstairs. The entire downstairs was open.
Wow.
So that we could flow people from different room to different rooms and be able to have a big enough kitchen to be able to serve. And we're church people, and it was just something that we wanted to be able to offer.
So it was the dream home.
This was it. This was the house. And it was phenomenal. We were able to really utilize it well. And we'd moved in probably, we hadn't been there for more than 3 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I mean, I'm telling you, we were lickety split. Let's get this puppy on the road. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be able, this is the whole reason God gave us this house. We're supposed to be able to share it.
Right.
And then my husband got laid off.
With no warning, I'm assuming.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things, Patty. My husband had been with this company for 15 years. And in all of his corporate career, even prior to that, we were never in the running for layoffs. We were never in that section of the company, the corporate structure, that it was even going to be a possibility.
Right. If there were going to be cuts, he was not going to be a
He didn't
part of
have to
that.
worry about it. So I was not worried about it. We weren't. You know how sometimes you kind of get an inkling?
Yes.
And
That
you know,
gut feeling.
exactly. You can call it a gut feeling, you can call it intuition, you can call it God kind of prompting you, you can call it whatever you want. After a while, you start learning to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that. And I had a really good girlfriend who was living in Texas, and she had come to visit with me near the Christmas holidays. Oh, Denise, don't you love your house? And I said, no,
I'm
I
out.
love that I get to live in this house. At the time, her husband and mine were working for the same company.
Oh.
So I didn't want to bring off that possibility that that's kind of what I felt.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I kind of felt it. So I was really trying hard to not be devastated, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When you know, when things were coming down the pike. Well, a couple months later, yes, indeed, my husband was laid off.
Mm.
And interestingly enough, he's got his box in the elevator coming down, and he gets a phone call from another company asking him if he happens to be available.
Oh my
So
goodness.
this is one of those things for him, for my husband, that says, now I can tell my wife I was laid off, but I have another job.
Oh,
You know,
good.
you know, I can breathe a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And we thought we could breathe. But the thing is, I'm a former realtor. I know we can't afford to keep this house. So we put it on the market.
Not on his new salary he was going to be making.
Yeah, I put it on the market. We bought another smaller house. But the thing is, we were not paying attention to what was happening in the world around us or in the industry, either one.
Mm-hmm.
Because within 2 months, maybe, my husband was laid off again.
Oh.
And then the stock market crashed.
Yes. I remember
We
that.
lost almost all of our 401k.
Mm-hmm.
And we had done a really good job of building that puppy up. And now it was
as
practically
many
gone.
people did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you know, because, you know, you eventually you're going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And if you for those who are just a teensy bit financially savvy, and they realize retirement years are going to come eventually, even though we were still 20 plus years off at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things where we looked at that and said, if we can put in extra. So in other words, and Dave Ramsey talks about this all the time, in general, when you get a raise, you don't increase your style of living. You increase your savings, you increase your investing, but you
Which
hang
most
on
of
to
us
the,
don't do, though. We don't do that.
we start shopping at Macy's instead of Walmart, and you've got
Yes.
this is a whole different thing. You've got to think about the future.
Yep.
So we were doing that. We were, you know, hubby would call and say, hey, I just got this raise, but, which is like, yay. And he's like, but I think we're doing okay with our, you know, with maintaining what we're spending. And
Mm-hmm.
why don't we just put that extra in the 401k?
Right.
So we had it built up, except now it was almost gone, just literally like that overnight.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. You might have missed the part where I said, we put the house on the market and bought a smaller house.
So you have 2 homes now.
Bingo. Notice I didn't say the big one sold.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Which I'm imagining that as a realtor person was not only devastating, well, personally devastating, because this is your dream home that you know you have to put on the market.
It was not easy, but the not easy to come was going to be worse.
Mm-hmm.
So we pay the bills. That's just what we do.
So you have 2 homes, and now you have 2 mortgages.
I've got 2 mortgages. I've got 2 kids. We've still got to pay the bills. We got a car note. You know, there's just, oh, and I had medical. Let's add that in there too.
Mm-hmm.
They're just I pay the bills. So with what was left in the savings, what was left in the 401k, we're paying all these bills. Well, it didn't take that long to realize money's running out fast. So eventually I had to tell my husband, we have no choice. We have to declare bankruptcy. There's just in a month, there's not going to be anything left. You know, we for us to, it didn't make sense to me for people who wait until there's literally no money left and they're getting eviction notices and stuff. I don't see that. You can see them. You can see the writing on the wall. It's on your phone. You know if you got no money left.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So now, just as a side note, bankruptcy attorneys cost money too. They're not free.
No.
So we had just enough left to hire the bankruptcy attorney, buy a lawnmower and trailer, and start mowing lawns to put food on the table.
Now, did you know anything about landscaping or any of this beforehand?
YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube,
okay.
Patty.
Of course, yes. That's it. That's where most of us learn most of the things we do, huh?
Yes, indeedy. Well, you know, my husband, you know, I'll be honest, my husband did have a little bit of lawn mowing background, but it was different. He did not have lawn and landscape in his background for residential services.
Gotcha.
His background was mowing a golf course type of lawn. That's a whole different ball game completely. I mean, you're talking lawn that's a half inch over there.
Right.
If that. So, and totally different kind of grass, the whole different kinds of groundskeeping for that. And that was like, I think high school-ish, maybe college. So that still had been quite a while.
Right.
But between YouTube and another landscaper who took him under his wing to help him learn the business side, it was really awesome. So that was a great way to get started. And we learned that no matter what industry you're in, there's opportunity. There's opportunity for everyone. There's room for everyone. For everyone to be in that business. There's people out there that are gonna gravitate toward you. There's people out there that's gonna gravitate toward someone else.
Right.
That's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
So the bankruptcy was liquidation. That means if you could touch it, it was sold. I had been homeschooling my kids all the way from kindergarten up till now. And I had acquired a library, a home library of more than 500 books, probably 100 or more videos, and just an incredible number of assets where it came to that. But when it comes to bankruptcy, everything goes.
Wow.
Books, toys, Christmas decorations, pots and pans, seriously, furniture, everything.
Wow.
If you think about having a garage sale, and most of us have either had one or attended one in our lives at some point, this is completely different. This is having strangers walk into my home and make an offer on the pot I was cooking my dinner in.
Oh my gosh.
I had to ladle my food out of my pot into a container and wash and sell my $200 Magnolite pot that I had gotten as a wedding gift for $5.
Oh man.
There were things I hadn't even taken the tags off of yet that were sold for 10 cents on the dollar.
So with your dream home, did you have to hand that over as well?
Both houses went into foreclosure.
Oh.
Basically, if you owe money to somebody for anything, it's gone.
Well, you know, when you just said those of us that have experienced doing a garage sale or whatever, we all know that in that garage sale, the reason that we put it in there is because we know we don't want it anymore for the most
Right.
part.
Right.
This, aside from what you just said, I mean, these are things that you want and you need to live, and people are coming in and they're buying them for dirt cheap. I mean, talk about another blow. You lost your dream home. Now you've lost the smaller home. And now bit by bit, you're losing the items from your daily life.
Yeah. And think about the children too. You know, I mean, as adults, okay, this is all very, you know, crushing to adults, but your kids don't have a thorough understanding of what's going on.
No, because they've
Right.
taken their toys, correct?
Yeah. I mean, literally everything. Yeah. You can keep a little bit of stuff, but a little bit of stuff, you know, like your bed, your mattress, maybe, because you have to move into an apartment kind of thing. I mean, really, I want to say, if I remember correctly, there was one room in the house that had stuff in it that was not going to be sold, like your bed, you know, or your mattress or whatever for your bed or whatever, things like that. Because we couldn't possibly afford a furnished apartment. You know, we had to move into a small apartment. We had a son and a daughter, and I want to say it was a 2-bedroom apartment. And I want to say that we had, it's possible that my son even slept on the couch.
Wow.
Because we had my daughter in the bed. So, I mean, even my family came to support us, and even to buy some of the things that we had for sale, you know. It was tough. It really was. But I will tell you though, Patty, things are things. Things can be purchased later. You can get
Yes.
more of that.
Yes.
I want to say that for me, the hardest part was having to let our 2 dogs go.
Wow.
Because not that was part of the bankruptcy. They don't make you sell your pets or get rid of your
Right.
pets. But because we could no longer live in a house, we couldn't afford that. We had to be in an apartment. And I got news for you. There's not an apartment out there that for any reasonable amount of money is going to let you keep 2 very large dogs. Not happening.
Right.
So we had to put them up, quote, for adoption. And I'll never forget our 2 dogs being driven away and my 2 children running into the house crying.
Wow.
For anybody out there who has pets, these are not pets.
No, they're your children.
These are your furry children, 100%.
Yes.
I mean, you know, it's that was really tough for me.
Well, and then as a mom, you don't know the long-term effects this is having on your children.
100%. You know, we can only pray and hope that there's a positive somewhere on the other side
Through
for
all of this,
everybody.
Denise,
Right?
up to this point, because I know you had mentioned that you are a faith-based person. Are you mad or angry at God? Are you wondering, you know, what or where is your faith through this dilemma?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question, Patty, because here's the thing. I grew up in the church. I came to Christ at age 12. I played guitar and sang for the church from age 12. And church was a big part of my life, women's ministry, etc. I was always a big participant. Matter of fact, I tease sometimes my kids grew up in the church because we were there all the time. They spent more time in the church facility than they did at home. So when these kind of things were happening for us, we had enough life experience where we had learned to see God in the little things, to see his hand in things, even like I got lost driving somewhere and, oh, goodness gracious, here's a stop sign. And what am I seeing? The most gorgeous sunset God ever put on the earth.
Yes.
That was God's provision. He wanted us to see that sunset.
Yes.
So when
And you
this
were
occurred,
being in the moment, which many of us
yes,
forget to do, is be in the moment when you see that sunset or that sunrise.
yeah, or for another example is taking my daughter to dance practice. I am always late for everything. That's just me. And as us always running late, getting out of the house, I remember one time we passed a vehicle that was on the side of the road that had flipped.
Mm.
The police and emergency workers hadn't even gotten there yet, and this car looked just like ours. My daughter said, "Mom, that could have been us." Understanding that had we gotten out of the house on time,
Mhm.
that could have been us. And when you say these things out loud, you're teaching your children to be okay with whoever the heck they are. I'm late, Nellie. I will be late for everything. That's just me. I don't do on time. I'm fashionably late, or I'm just on time, right? I'm not going to be 20 minutes early. Not happening, no way.
However, you were on time with this podcast.
I was on time. And so what it is when you relay these kinds of things to your kids, they're learning that to trust God with what even the small things,
Mhm.
and to notice.
Yeah.
You're teaching them to notice,
Yes.
right? So with this particular season of life, I remember attending a women's retreat. It was like a weekend thing that was not too far, about 45 minutes away. And I remember our church women that were attending to this big thing. I'm walking into the doors, and some of them are coming up behind me whispering, "Denise, how can you be smiling and appear to be so happy and whatever?" They knew what I was going through because I had confided in the ladies group, in the women's group at church. And it's like, it's not me, I guarantee you, it's just God.
Yes.
It's having that faith that he knows the outcome.
Right.
He knows the reason for all of this. We didn't know. And truth is, sometimes we don't get the answer. I got lucky. I did get the answer, and we'll get to that. But sometimes we go through stuff for the purpose of being able to help someone else through it down the road.
Right.
Or for the purpose of building our character, building our strength, building our reliance on him. I know this is not, a religious podcast, but
No.
hang with me, people, hang with me. So, I've always felt that. And I think, again, paying attention and noticing is important.
And,
Right?
I'd also like to add that many times, whether you believe in God or some other universal source, they're showing us, or they're giving us the answer to our prayer, but because it's not what we think we want or we need, then it's like, oh no, that can't be God, or that can't be that ultimate source. It just can't be. And in reality, it is. So we really are not we're not really listening as we should, and we make it harder on ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the South, and I have a lot of experience with hurricanes. So that just reminds me of the old, I call it a joke, but it's a story where, a family is literally on the roof of their house waiting for God's provision, because they're religious people and they're waiting for God's provision. Well, a boat came by, a helicopter came by, and, hello, God works through other means and other things that are going on in your life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, in fact, I think I've heard that where the man was on the roof and there's a boat that comes and the guy says, "Okay, get in." He goes, "Oh no, I'm waiting for God. God's going to help me." And the boat leaves, and then the helicopter comes and they go, "Come on, we're here to help you." "No, I'm waiting for God to help me." And then next thing you know, the guy is on the roof and he's saying, "God, why aren't you helping me? I thought you'd be helping me." He goes, "I sent you a boat, I sent you a helicopter, and you didn't take either one." And isn't that how we are so many times in our daily life?
Absolutely. And I think that is something that we need to realize, is that regardless of your belief system, things in life, I think that's where, in all honesty, half the population have a problem, because they spend their entire life having this expectation of X, expectation of Y, expectation of Z. And that could be anything. Name your topic.
Right.
And if it doesn't come out with their expectations, they're disappointed, they're disgruntled, they're mad, they're angry, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
People get over it. I mean, I tell my families, and, you know, as one of the things, you will lose. Get over it now.
Well, I've said it before. God gets a good laugh at me so many times because I think I'm in charge. And he goes, Patty, you keep forgetting you're not the one in charge here, you know? So I give him a good laugh every so often. And then I remember,
right.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You know, let me start that over again.
I'll back that off just a hair.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've gone through bankruptcy, your items are disappearing, you take on the new challenge of something new in life, which is to start a lawn care service. So what happens next?
Well, you know, I mentioned earlier on that we also had a car note.
Yes.
That was my husband's truck that he was using to pull
the trailer.
Guess what gets repoed after a few months?
Oh no.
Because it's in the bankruptcy.
Right.
Luckily, by the grace of God, we had a friend who had an extra vehicle he wasn't using, and he let us have it.
Oh.
So again, it was provision after provision, and you just learn to just be grateful. And I think that's, again, we don't live life with enough gratitude. So we're in this new apartment, and I want to say about 3 months, it suddenly hit me that my daughter was about to start high school. College is around the corner.
Right.
How are we going to pay for this? We have no savings, no 401k, no house to borrow equity from. And that bankruptcy means we can't co-sign for those student loans everyone loves to talk about.
Right.
That right there took, I mean, that's like 10 years worth, you know what I'm saying? I mean, bankruptcy takes a long time to get off your record here. So now how are we going to pay for college? I was desperate. In all honesty, I was literally desperate. So my brain said, there's just got to be a way. You know, I mean, yes, people talk about student loans a lot, especially every 2 years when it becomes a political football.
Right.
But your kids can only get a very small amount without a co-signer of some kind. So that's either mom and dad or grandparents usually. So that took student loans off the table. So I started doing the research. And all of my friends are saying, Denise, you're starting too early. Wait till junior year for that. Because that's what we're told.
Right.
It's what everybody's told.
That's when they go looking for where they want to go to college.
Yeah,
you know,
that's when you take the SAT exams. You know, I mean, that's when you're supposed to do all this stuff.
Right.
Because that's what we've been told for the last 3 decades. But I'm thinking, I don't have 3 years to wait to figure this out. I need to know now. I'm a logistics person. I like to have my ducks in a row. So in my research, I found that, okay, yeah, 70% of college students do have some amount of student loan debt. And Patty, that can be anywhere from $5,000 to add as many zeros as you'd like.
Exactly. Yes.
But I can do the math. If 70% have debt, that means 30% don't. What are they doing that the rest of us don't know about?
Exactly. You want to find out about that 30%.
What are they doing? Yes, there is some segment where parents can afford it and they just pay it. There's a smaller segment than you believe that the kids are just perfect kids. They've got perfect test scores. They're geniuses, blah, blah, blah. And they get a great scholarship to go in. There's an extremely small percentage, contrary to popular belief, that are athletes that are on athletic scholarships getting paid for their college education.
Mm-hmm.
So, note to parents or grandparents with athletic kids, that is not your ticket to college.
Right.
That is not your ticket to getting paid to go to college.
The percentage is very small.
Way more than parents believe. Yeah, back in the day when I was in college, abso-darn-lutely, honey, they lived like kings. They got cars. Their dorm rooms look like apartments. I mean, yes, all of that. Not today. There's rules.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else are these kids doing, or the kids that are not in those realms, doing to be able to manage this? Everything that I learned, if it sounded remotely logical that it would affect college acceptance or winning scholarships, we did that.
Okay.
Okay. Because I didn't have time to test the theory.
Right.
and see which
desperate,
one of these
desperate
things,
times
right?
call for desperate measures.
And you're right. I mean, think about it. If you think about the healthcare industry today, the medical healthcare industry today wants to give you a pill that fixes this thing that you have, this problem.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how the body works. The body works integratively, and the same is true for the high school to college process. It's integrative. You can't just take one pill and call it good.
Right.
That doesn't work anymore. So fast forward, my daughter was a high school junior, spring of junior year, when she both applied to her first scholarship and applied to her first college. This was a college that had what we call either open or rolling admissions. Basically, they don't just say, we open August 1st for college admissions. Instead, they say, here's the application. Check the box as to which semester you want to start, and we'll put it in the right pile, and we'll let you know.
Okay.
So I figured for this particular school, we were 6 months from what would be a traditional time period of submitting applications. But the truth is, Patty, nothing was going to change.
Right.
Her GPA wasn't going to change in that time, and neither were her test scores, because she was done testing.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just send it in? For that school, it's good enough. Just go ahead and send it in. Well, 3 days later, we got a phone call from the college. Now, this is why I ask parents to put the parent phone number on college applications, not the teenager's phone number. We got a phone call from the college, and here's a man asking for my teenage daughter.
Oh,
hint, hint.
See, yeah.
Because they don't start with, hey, this is so and so from whatever college. I'm here to talk to your, the name of student. No, they just say, may I speak with?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I said, this is her mother. How may I help you? And then he introduced himself, told me the college he was calling from. And he said, we received your daughter's application, but did not receive the application fee. Now, Patty, I'm going to pause for just a moment. That's part of following directions. Just saying.
Okay.
Ordinarily, an application without the fee is going to end up in a pile that would never see the light of day.
Right.
Because ain't nobody looking at it without the fee.
Right. Right. So is this a God wink?
Absolutely. At this point in time, he says, and we did not receive the fee. And we'd like to offer her tuition, fees, room, board, and books. But we need the fee to process the scholarship.
Holy cow.
Now, here's the thing. If you break this down, the application goes to the admissions department. Financial aid's in another building.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in admissions opened the envelope or whatever, sees the application and says, holy cow, and notices there's no money. And then says, we don't want to lose this by putting it in a pile. And says, financial aid department, let's chat. They look at it and say, oh yeah, I'm making a phone call.
Ooh.
Now here's the thing. I'm a little skeptical. So my next question was, by the way, I had my daughter on speakerphone. I'm doing the timeout thing with her. Don't jump up and down for joy just yet.
Exactly. We can't have the celebratory dinner yet.
Yes. And plus, you don't want the other people on the other line to think, yeah, we got them. We'll do whatever, you know.
Right.
Former realtor here. We don't show the excitement before we have the dotted line, you know, sign.
Right. Right.
So anyway, my next question was, you do know she's a junior? Yes, ma'am. We'll wait for her.
Wow. Come on.
There was something in this application, something that had every person who read it or touched it think we want to have this person on our campus.
That's powerful.
I didn't know what it was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter applied to 8 colleges, public and private, across 3 states. One of the colleges we had not gone to see at all prior to submitting the application. She had never seen it before. So I want to say probably 2 weeks the application was submitted. We did a tour, an official tour. We got to sign up, register. They put us in a room with other families, conference room, and then a student helper walks in from the admissions office with a clipboard and is asking for the names of the students who are in attendance in the official tour. She gets to my daughter's name and says, oh, you're the one.
Oh.
So my daughter's application had made the rounds, even to the point where a student worker would know about it and know the name.
Oh my gosh.
A few months later, I finally get my daughter to make a decision. I mean, we were down to the wire. It was probably March of senior year. And I finally said, hon, you gotta narrow these puppies down. At least tell me public or private. Can you at least narrow it down to that, right? Well, eventually she made her decision and she sent a email to, or a letter, whatever it was, to each of the other schools withdrawing her application. I'm sorry, I've made a decision. I'm attending a different college. Thank you, whatever, release my seat. One of the private colleges that she had turned down called her on the phone. I'll never forget this. We were in Walmart and wanted to know, what can we do to get you to come here?
Wow.
And they proceeded to offer whatever the heck they could. We'll give you a student job. Do you want a research position? You know, what can we give you?
My goodness.
But she was steadfast. She had made her decision. She was good with it.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 years later, my son is coming up. Can we do this again? Turns out we can.
Wow.
But I'll give you another thing that I learned in this process, because my daughter was the oldest, so she was my guinea pig.
Right.
My kids started applying for scholarships pretty much late junior year, I would say. One of my daughter's first scholarship she applied to was a $10,000 national scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And she won.
Wow.
The company flew the entire family to a conference so they could give her the big check.
Wow.
However, before you think that, oh, well, you know, everything my kids touch is gold. No, it's not.
No,
No,
I
it's
think we
not.
can tell up to this point in your story that if it was, you wouldn't have
Yeah,
had the story you've just shared with us.
yeah, it doesn't work out that way. They did lose a lot of scholarships, right?
Mm-hmm.
In her senior year, she was applying to one of the largest scholarships in the country. And this scholarship begins with 9 pages of check boxes of typical high school activities and leadership roles. But my daughter is homeschooled.
Right.
She doesn't have dance team, student body government, whatever, or band or cheerleading. None of that. She couldn't check any boxes.
Mm-hmm.
She did have an impressive resume, but couldn't get past the computer, which is why they use check boxes, to get to the real application.
Mm.
Because here's the thing, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And by the time your kid is applying for any scholarship, you don't know if they have the minimum qualifications to even apply, much
Right.
less win.
Right.
But as I said, my son is 5 years younger. So when he started high school, I partnered with another homeschool family. Now I've got the application. I know what boxes need to be checked. I don't know how many need to be checked to get past the computer, though. So I asked my son, I gave him the list. I said, what looks like fun to you that you might want to add, if possible, to the things you're already doing that you love to do?
Mm-hmm.
Notice I didn't say, it's on the list. We have to check these boxes. That's a
Right.
whole different way of thinking
You
about
you
it.
have to do this and you have to start doing that and that sort of thing.
That's where there's too much pressure, too much stress.
Right.
And it does start, that kind of stress begins the second your kid, if your kids are college bound, that stress begins as definitely as early as freshman year, when the high school counselor is saying, oh, your kid came to us to the high school with a 3.8 GPA. Let's put him in all these AP classes or whatever.
Right. Right.
None of that's necessary, people, just saying. And so going forward, my daughter exited college with $4,000 left over. My son exited college with $10,000 left over.
Mm.
But when we dropped him off at college for his first day as a freshman, my husband and I bought a 42-foot motorhome and went full-time RVing for 5 years.
Woo-hoo. Can I just add in here right now, being a retired educator at the high school level, for those of you parents that are out there listening or watching on YouTube right now, I want you to know that every single year I would watch hundreds of thousands of dollars of scholarships never getting applied for. And a lot of people think, oh, well, it's too much work. Some of these, I mean, basically it takes 5 to 10 minutes on a computer to check a box or two and write a simple sentence or something. But it would kill me as an educator to see these kids, well, I'll just get a student loan. I'll just get a student loan, when all of this money is being offered by local organizations and national organizations. And there would not be one kid that would apply for it. And so
Yes.
just know that money is there. You might have to do a little bit of work, but when you consider that your student will not end up at the end of their college career with a debt that will last them the rest of their life, those few extra hours of applying for those scholarships will be well worth it in the end.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that out, Patty. I've had people who run scholarship organizations or companies like the Junior League, let's say, that offers a $5,000 scholarship to a kid in their community,
Mm-hmm.
come to me and say, Denise, we have to go to the high schools every single year and beg them to
Yes.
find a kid to apply.
Yes. Yes.
Here's the thing. I think that kids have been, I don't know, they don't believe in themselves enough. Let's start there.
Right.
And one of the myths that
Or
I
or they
dispel,
think a bunch of other kids are going to apply.
Yeah, or they think I'm not smart enough, or only geniuses win scholarships. Look,
Right.
that 200 grand that my kids won, I was on a stage in California and that story was told. And a mom came up to me afterwards, and her daughter was a freshman in college at the time. And she said, your kids must be geniuses, because my kid applied to 40 scholarships and won none. And my heart sank.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I did not say in that particular opportunity, that I'm going to tell y'all right now, is that literally half of the scholarships my kids won, $100,000 worth, did not ask for GPA or test scores. It is
Ah.
simply writing an essay, short or long, depending on the word count, usually short, on a particular topic.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, there's a lot of tools and tricks and things you need to know about which ones to apply to, what to not bother with, and how to win. There is a strategy for winning. A lot of people will apply and not win anything.
Mm-hmm.
And for that mom whose child applied to 40 scholarships, her kid did one of two things wrong. Either she applied to the wrong scholarships. I'll give you an example. If the scholarship essay says, tell me about your favorite ice cream flavor, and your kid is lactose intolerant, guess what? I don't care how eloquently those words are put on that piece of paper. They will not win.
Right.
Because if you think about reading a novel, the emotions that the author has as they are penning that work comes through the written page to the reader. Now, Patty, I am not woo. I don't have a clue how it works. I just know it does.
Mm-hmm.
So if your kid is not interested in the topic, if they don't really have an opinion, if they don't care, they're not going to win.
Right. Because it's going to come out in their writing.
And it's a waste of time.
Right.
There are 1.8 million scholarship opportunities totaling $23 billion given away every year.
Wow.
Honey, wrinkle that puppy up, throw it in the trash, and find another one. There's plenty to apply to.
Right. Right.
You know,
Well, and I know a lot of in our area, there's a lot of local businesses that it may be only a couple $100. If you want to go into teaching, then the teachers union has this $500 scholarship. You know what? $500 will still either pay for your campus parking or your campus books, some of them anyways. Every little bit adds up.
and there's a scholarship for every grade level. Scholarships
Yes.
begin in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And they
Yes.
go all the way through professional school. I'm glad you mentioned, maybe a teacher's thing, whatever. One of the scholarships my son won was given by 5 engineers that had come together and pooled their money for a scholarship.
Mm.
The scholarship goes to a kid who wants to be an engineer, who's going to attend our alma mater.
Ah.
Okay. That's how they narrow the gene pool here. Okay.
Right. Right.
Look, anybody out there listening, if you can spare a few bucks, if you can spare a Starbucks latte every week and find $500 a year, put your money where your mouth is and offer a scholarship to some kid in your community.
Wow. Yeah.
You get to dictate how this goes. If you want to say it has to, you can only apply if you're attending XYZ high school. Maybe it's your alma mater. Maybe it's a low income school in your neighborhood, whatever. Or maybe it's your alma mater college. Okay. They're going to be going there. And you can say only the first 50 applicants count. Everything else gets tossed in the trash.
Right.
Because you're doing this by yourself and you don't need the headache of everything else. Right. You can make that choice.
Yeah.
And be part of the solution.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
There's so many opportunities out there. So don't think, well, I only want my kid to apply to, $10,000 or more. Well, you are greatly reducing the thing, even 1,000. You're greatly reducing, because like you said, $500 was more than you had in the bank yesterday.
That's exactly right. Every
right?
penny adds up. Yes.
It does add up. Yes, there were $10,000 scholarships, but there was I think 350 was the lowest scholarship, but between my two kids.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of 500s, some 1000s,
Yeah.
So it's all about first of all, mindset really does have a lot to do with this.
Sure.
And there's no reason to wait because scholarships are available, like I said, for any age group. God help you if your kid is going to be going to some type of professional school, please get the undergrad for free because nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out how to do it as close to free as humanly possible. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It becomes an Easter egg hunt. It really does. I
Sure.
tell my families to and when you're doing this search, when you're following my script, my programs and stuff, set a timer for 10 minutes or 30 minutes, because otherwise you're not doing laundry, you're not cooking dinner, and you might not even go to work because this becomes exciting. So
Yes. You go down that rabbit
you
hole
do.
and
It is definitely a rabbit hole for sure.
well, hey, what would you say, Denise, is the best advice that anyone has ever given you?
Oh wow, best advice. I'm gonna give that advice too. Don't chase squirrels.
Uh,
There's a lot of shiny objects out there, and don't believe everything you hear. Literally today, and I'm telling you every single day, there is a myth of some kind surrounding the high school to college process that I have to again dispel. Today's myth of the day
mhm.
was, should my teen bother to take the PSAT exam? He's a junior, should he even bother? I'm telling you 90% or more of the responses is going to be, nah, don't bother with it.
Mhm.
People, and I cannot believe this is still something that keeps getting said over and over again. First of all, the PSAT is not a practice SAT. It is the preliminary SAT, and it is the qualifying exam for the National Merit Scholarship.
Mm.
Do not believe what people say, including your high school counselor, that, quote, nobody wins that, or it's too hard to get National Merit Scholar or National Merit Finalist. Here's the thing. Your kid is only competing against kids from their own state.
Oh, so it's not
And
national.
no, and they give so many winners that the odds of winning is 1 in 200.
Oh,
That's
wow.
better than any local scholarship. Everybody says, oh, apply to local scholarships, not national. Hun, get your kids applying. Let them take that PSAT exam in their junior year. And yes, study for that puppy.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it because they could win as little as $2,500 all the way through $100,000 just for that one test. So
Wow.
don't believe everything that you hear and don't chase squirrels.
So what would you say right now in your at where you are presently in your life? What are you passionate about personally and professionally?
Okay. That's a tough one. Oh, okay. Personally, I'm passionate about family. Just love, love, love hanging out with my family.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my kids are adults now. They have their own little adult lives in different parts of the country. So I love when I have an opportunity to go visit with any of them. And by the way, FaceTime is God's gift to parents because you get to see your kids. So that's definitely. I also am very passionate about doing creative activities. I like sewing and creating things with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Professionally, nothing makes me happier than helping families. Oh my
Awesome.
gosh, it is the coolest thing ever when a family emails or texts me, my kid won another scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
or, we just got a full ride to XYZ school, or whatever it is.
Right.
It just brings joy to my heart.
Excellent. So what would you say that right now where you are is your purpose personally and professionally?
My purpose personally is to be a great grandma, to be a
Mm.
great grandmother, you know, like slash grandmother.
Yes.
I'm not that old. I love being a grandma, and I love helping my kids with whatever's going on in their lives, their adult lives. I have a great relationship with my children. Very, very, very blessed and glad for that to have occurred. And professionally, I'm sorry, the question again was
Your purpose.
purpose. Okay.
Personally and
Purpose, purpose professionally is to get this message out to as many families as possible. I would love to flip the student debt statistic and get this, the Cracking the Code to Free College program in as many hands as possible, because I know it's possible.
And what would you say, Denise, is your superpower?
Teaching is my superpower. I'm able to bring to people something that seems difficult and make it seem easier and more simplified. I love teaching. I've been a teacher at heart for as long as I can remember. I think my little sister was 4 years old when I started teaching her algebra. She said I blew her mind. That's why she can't do math today.
Well, as a retired teacher, yes, that is a superpower indeed. What would you say? How is it that you are living your best life, or as I like to say, call it living your best dash?
We are living. My husband and I live together in an airplane hangar on an active private airport in North Florida. We are living our best life, doing what we love to do, and enjoying the families and the friends that we have. And I love being able to, at a drop of a hat, go to Disney World when I want to. I'll just drive 3 hours and go spend the day, you know. Or go to the beach, just drive 2.5 hours in the other direction, go to the beach. It's just a lot of fun to have that kind of freedom. And I think that's part of living your best life, is being able to make decisions that, at least for the things that are important to me, don't require me to spend what I like to call stupid amounts of money to be able to enjoy life.
Yes. Yes. Are there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience?
Final thoughts. Oh, honey, I could talk for ages. You know that.
Well, I think we both could. Yes, definitely.
I would say, just please don't let this information sit on the shelf. I don't care if your kids are, or grandkids, I don't care if they're 8 years old or even younger. I actually have families on my email list right now whose oldest children are 7 and 8 years old. I've got one family whose oldest child is 2. I kid you not. Because if you just say, oh, I'll connect with Denise whenever we get to that point in the next 10 years, Denise might not be around. But if you're on the email list, you'll at least have picked up some information, and maybe you've even joined the program when your kid's in middle school, so you can actually get this done for your children. One of the most fun things that ever happened to me is when my son graduated from high school, both of my kids got up and spoke about me at his graduation. And up until that point, I didn't even know how much money they had won, because, like you said, I was in that rabbit hole. And all I did was, you know, okay, apply to this, apply to that, apply to that. And I didn't add the money up. I didn't pay any attention to that. They added it up and announced it at his graduation. And I was in just as much shock as everyone else.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't doubt that at all. Well, thank you so much, Denise, for being my guest today. Could you please tell everyone how they can connect with you? Because I know there's plenty of people out there that are thinking, I need to connect with her because I want to get started now with this information. How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. And I'm sure that Patty will have a direct link that you can click on at some point. But if you're just listening, you're in your car, maybe you can remember this: getaheadoftheclass.com or getadebtfreedegree.com. They'll both get you to the same place, and you'll be able to find me.
And for those of you that have been listening and watching on several of our podcasts, you know that in the description for this podcast, whether you're watching it on YouTube or you're on one of the 10 podcast platforms, you will see Denise's links right there in the description. And as she said, don't think, oh, well, my kids aren't going to be ready for this until another 5 years or 4 years. You know, God willing, she will still be around. However, she has the knowledge and know-how to give you now, to work with you and talk with you now on how to plan for the future. Excuse me. And we all know that God, may have different plans, but it's never too late to get the information now. So go to the link in the description and you'll be able to click on it and get direct access to Denise. Once again, Denise, thank you very much for this valuable information. And thank you for being one of those people that was persistent and did not let those challenges and obstacles that you faced on your path stop you, because not only have you changed the life for you and your family, you are now changing the lives of other people as well. And I thank you so much for all of that and for being here today.
Thank you, Patty.
And for all of you out there listening, remember to subscribe to this podcast and invite your family and friends to also subscribe. I would absolutely love that. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that 5-star rating and leave a review. I would love to make sure that I hear what you think. And if you're looking for certain people that you'd like to hear on the podcast, also let me know about that. Or if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please get in touch with me at my website, which is www.pathwayswithpatty.org. And then while you're there, you can sign up for a free Zoom chat with me, and you can also get my Pathway to a New Beginning roadmap. So until we meet again, continue to live your best dash and know that life's an adventure, and I want you to enjoy the journey because your life matters. Thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you all.